Hi, I'm Aidan Dolby. In this mini lecture, we're going to take a look at Martin Scorsese's 1980 film Raging Bull. Throughout this lecture, I'm going to approach this film from a genre studies perspective, whilst also taking a look at some key micro elements of film as well. So to kick us off, I thought we'd take a look at some establishing factors of the film and some establishing information about the film. So as I said, Raging Bull was directed by Martin Scorsese and released in 1980. The film was written and adapted by Paul Schrader and Mardik Martin from Jake LaMotta's 1970 memoir, Raging Bull, My Story. The film was distributed by United Artists, which at the time of its release was a subsidiary of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, so a conglomerate studio there. Raging Bull is Martin Scorsese's seventh feature film out of Scorsese's extensive filmography, which offers a rich visual tapestry of American cultures, ideologies, histories, and beyond, really. And taken as a whole, Scorsese's filmography covers over 160 years of American history. In his book, Martin Scorsese's America, Ellis Cashmore remarks, Scorsese has offered pictures of an ever-changing America in which there's always a connection between the people and the world around them. Scorsese makes us see that it isn't just around them, it's actually inside them too. Now, considering this quote from Cashmore, I feel like this quote really nicely encapsulates Scorsese as a filmmaker and Scorsese's films as they sit as cultural reflectors, really, and how these films definitely themselves have created new histories of American culture. So, in thinking about Raging Bull and genre, then, I want to consider Raging Bull as a boxing film. Now, it gets this label due to the boxing focus, really, for the film, and boxing being a key ingredient used by Scorsese for this film. So, the boxing film is a subgenre of the sports film genre, and a rough definition of the sports film is where a sport, an event, or an athlete is featured prominently in the plot of the film. So already we have a alignment, really, with Raging Bull and the sports film and Raging Bull and the boxing film definition. Now, the subgenre of a boxing film is really an already established genre in American cinema and was already a popular genre between the years of 1930 into the mid-1950s until it kind of dropped off. However, this subgenre noticeably went through a revival period in the 1970s, with the likes of some of the on-screen films now. So we have Fat City from 1972, which arguably kicked it all off. And then we get the likes of Rocky and The Greatest, alongside numerous other boxing-focused films from various studios during this decade. With Raging Bull coming along arguably at the end of the intense period of boxing-focused releases. So whilst Raging Bull then definitely adheres to some of the defining elements of the sports film genre and shares similarities with the aforementioned films then and the ones on screen, which are definitely a boxing film and definitely are labelled as a boxing film, Raging Bull then is much more than a boxing film though, and rather uses boxing as a narrative device rather than a sole focus. And similarly, Thomas Sentinel remarks in his book Masters of Cinema, Martin Scorsese, at the opposite pole from sporting epics like Rocky, which were starting to flood onto American screens, Raging Bull is a story of self-destruction. And similarly, esteemed film critic Roger Ebert remarks in his review of this film, Raging Bull is not a film about boxing, but about a man with paralysing jealousy and sexual insecurity, for whom being punished in the ring serves as a confession, penance, and absolution. It is no accident that the screenplay never concerns itself with fight strategy. For Jake LaMotta, what happens during a fight is controlled not by tactics, but by his fears and drives. So, bearing this in mind then, and bearing in mind the film itself and the narrative arc of it, really we've got to see that boxing only takes half of this film's focus, really, and the other half is on the personal life and the dramas of the personal life of Jake LaMotta himself. Now, as I said at the beginning of this film, it's based on a memoir from Jake LaMotta himself. Um, and so then this film kind of falls into the hands and the definitions and the blurred lines, really, and the genre sort of section of being a biopic. And Jules Selbo defines the biopic or the film biography as a story based on a real person, living or dead. The narrative includes the elements of his or her life that are deemed dramatic and story-worthy. She also notes that the best biopics, in most cases, don't try and tell a subject's life from birth to death, but focus on a pivotal time during that person's life, which resulted in a life change. And that's what we have here as well from Scorsese. We have a 20 to 25 year, roughly, period where we see Jake LaMotta in his prime, and then we get him in his demise, really. And what we get is we get to witness this prime and demise all on screen, and how it's such a pivotal time in Jake LaMotta's life, really, and resulted in a life change. So in thinking about Selbo's definition of a biopic, which again, Raging Bull definitely adheres to key ingredients of this, we're left with thinking about the film as a hybridized film and a hybridized genre film. So this film then is also a biopic alongside also being a boxing film. So what we have is a biopic boxing film, and that helps in Scorsese telling the true story, the intended subject of the film, which is Jake LaMotta's career and his personal life. And again, Scorsese does it with real talent in that he balances both so well throughout. So in terms of thinking about some key micro elements that Scorsese uses throughout the film, cinematography is perhaps the foremost important, I'd argue, for Raging Bull. So I guess one of the biggest questions is, why did Scorsese record the film in black and white? And this is definitely for a few reasons, but I think, again, the foremost important is for stylistic reasons. Stylistically, during the decade of its release, there was nothing from the boxing film or sports film genre label that looked like Scorsese's film. And really, there still isn't as anything intense and as artistically flared, really, I would argue, as Scorsese's Raging Bull. So it's for that artistic reason, really, and again, it hints at Scorsese's artistic flair, his boldness, and his experimentation, really, as a filmmaker, to release a black and white film during a decade when everyone else was using colour. So this then sets apart Scorsese's film from the rest of the boxing-focused films released during this intense period of boxing-focused films which were released. Also, throughout the film, Scorsese uses a variety of camera angles and techniques such as ECUs, CUs and MCUs to really reinvent how the boxing film was filmed from inside the ring, and establishing a new method of filming fights. Another key element and micro element of film for this film is editing. And throughout the film, Scorsese presents us with a range of editing techniques, really, and establishes an innovative editing kind of technique with his editor, Thelma Shoemaker, where the dislocate shots and dislocate various filming editing styles and techniques to really dislocate the space of the ring, the fight itself, and enhance the sense of claustrophobia and immersion whilst filming the fights themselves. The use of slow-mo as well is also used throughout, and this technique is primarily reserved for when female protagonists come on screen to enhance their awareness and their subjectivity as well. So thinking about those key micro elements of film which we just explored, for the task following this lecture, I'd like you to think about and explore some other micro elements of film which Scorsese utilises throughout, really, and which helps in building the film's narrative, the characters, and the overall significance of the film. Thanks for watching and listening today.